Wait.
La Casa, or The House by Teresita Blanco, the Artsysister. That's me. Chapter 1. The House. There was nothing special or extraordinary about the house. It could have easily been your house. The store is placed in a little island called Cuba. Most people do not know about Cuba. They hear about it from time to time. They are more familiar with the capital, Havana. This story does not take place in Havana, no. This house is located to the west of Havana in a region known as Pinar del Rio. To non-Spanish speakers, the place is called bushy side of the river, or forested zone by the river. There is a park about a couple of blocks away from the house that has some large plumeria flowers and some pines. The other trees are pines separating two roads that lead to school. Behind the house there is a fence, and beyond it a little dirt park. It has some iron swings, a couple of slides, and a single wall covered by hibiscus flowers. As for river, there was not a single one near this house. To find any large bodies of water, one had to take a horse carriage to La Palma, or the Palm. The reader might be tempted to think that the story took place during the colonial period, but nothing could be further from the truth. There was some semblance of technology and advancement. Our story begins in the year 1982. During that time, Cuba still maintained healthy relationships with the Russians, formerly known as the Soviets. There was still steak and chicken rations, and the Amistad Stores were just opening. Dollars entering from the interior were severely limited and considered a contraband good. The ration for $1 was 300 pesos. The house was situated in a street known as Isabel la Católica. The house itself had only one room. Being a colonial house made during the time of the Spaniards, the roof was rather high. The doors too followed in suit. It was cut to perfectly fit about 10 feet high. The connecting bedroom doors were only 7 feet tall. The facade had two 8 feet tall windows made of wood with ornamental iron bars protruding from the walls. The windows were cemented into glass squares. There was a second exterior solid wooden window made of solid wood to protect it. These two windows open within. As soon as you enter, you are greeted by a majestic living room with a teardrop chandelier. The living room and kitchen floor was made of marble or checkerboard pattern. Meanwhile, the bedroom floors were made of red tiles. If you walk past from this room, you arrive at the interior wall concrete patio. This house and many other neighbors were wall to wall, and beyond this patio one found the kitchen with the only working bathroom. Working has quotes and quotes for good reason. Since this was a colonial house, the bathroom and electricity was a modern modification. There was only a single faucet that had running water, and it was not found in the bathroom, though through the usage of a hose, the two main water tanks were filled. The first was located in the back garden past the kitchen. This garden was also made of concrete. The only working faucet and sink to wash laundry. This water tank was made of copper. The second was found in the interior, and it was made of blue plastic. Aside from the water tank, the back garden had two gas stove tanks. They were mainly used for the gas stove. The kitchen also had the same tear-glass chandelier. Each room had connecting doors. There was also a single door and a pair of windows that faced the garden. The windows in the bedroom were small and rather high, requiring a stick to open them every day. The first room was the only one that did not face the garden. Rather, its doors opened to the living room. It also had a window facing the porch and its own chandelier. The two other rooms had regular single-light boat lamps. And since this was a colonial house, the wall interiors were painted white. The crown moldings were also white as well. The kitchen did not follow the same pale scheme, since the walls were painted blue. This was not the original coloring of the house. It had originally had a yellow wallpaper in the living room and a red one in the kitchen. The interior garden was unassuming. The floor was made of concrete. It had a single grate that led into the sewer. It was somewhat ornamental. The problem with this ornamentation was that the magnolia tree of the neighbor. It towered over the house, and from time to time it would draw leaves into the concrete garden. When the grate was covered with thus creating a flooding hazard. In the corner of this garden there was a wave depot antenna. The reader may be wondering about this useless concrete garden of the house. Truth be told, despite the heat, there had never been much of a pool culture in Cuba. The nearest pool to the house was a public one. It had been created to train Olympic divers and swimmers. As such, it was extremely deep. It was not too uncommon for people to drown in it every so often. There were some other ones here and there, but they were relegated only to foreigners and high-ranking party members. The irony of this pool that the first person who drowned in it was a foreign Olympic swimmer. None of the locals remember the name of the dead foreigner, just that he was an Olympic swimmer. Foreigners tended to drop dead in Cuba from time to time, so this unfortunate drowning was nothing new. Neither the Cubans nor the world had ever cared about people dropping dead in Cuba. The entire point of this story is that this house will never ever get a pool, so don't expect it in this story. This was what the house looked like when the family first moved in. Some of the things were added to it later. This is just the start of the story.